Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you are here. In this video, I will be making some alterations to clothing that has been sitting in my Mind and Alter pile for a very long time, probably at least a year. Starting with this top. I don't have an issue with the style. I enjoy these kind of puffed sleeves. I like the lace detailing. It's giving Victorian summer, and I enjoy that. But I do not enjoy this mauve color on me. I think that I already have these kind of mauve pink undertones in my skin, and the color's just washing me out. So I'm going to dye this probably a maroon color. The one issue with this plan is the buttons already match the top really well, which means I will have to remove them and replace them with new ones. And I don't particularly enjoy sewing buttons, so that is a task that I do not relish. The next item that I will be altering is this puff sleeve top. Admittedly, I think it used to be some kind of mini dress. I don't know who the heck would be able to wear this as a dress, as it is, in my opinion, far too short to be a dress and far too long to be a shirt. So I will be cutting off this bottom portion here and making it a normal length for myself because while I do love the sleeves, I hesitate to use it as a layering piece because of the length. I actually cannot button this all the way because my hips are wider than the dress and this cotton fabric has zero give. So the fit is just weird and the length is weird and I'm going to fix that. I will say I love these ridiculously oversized puffy sleeves, which is why I'm putting in the effort to make alterations instead of just donating it. Next on my list of clothing alterations is this lace heart, I guess also mauve colored top, and same issue as the other one. I just don't particularly enjoy this color with my skin tone, and yet I keep buying clothes in this color, probably because I like the style of clothing, but maybe I just didn't think through the color choice when I was shopping. Either way, it makes a good opportunity for me to dye clothing because I enjoy doing that. Okay, same issue with this tunic top. I would normally style this with long pants. I think it's supposed to be a mini dress. It's from the brand Free People, but I am far too self-conscious to wear this as a dress because it is very short on me. But same issue as the other tops. I really do not like this color very much. So into the pile of things that I am going to dye. Next is this duster, which is also from the brand Free People, and it's beautiful, but I don't think I've ever worn it out for a couple of reasons. I don't like this mauve-y skin tone colored mesh, so I'm going to attempt to dye this. I shudder to think that it would fail and I would destroy this beautiful piece because it is very pretty. So I'm a little nervous about this one, but I would be far more inclined to reach for this if it was perhaps dark purple or maroon because it would go with so many more things in my wardrobe. The next thing I'm going to be making alterations to is this, I think it's pronounced toile print. It's got like little people and floral things printed onto it. I like the design of the fabric. The fabric doesn't feel very good because this top is admittedly from Shein. I don't purchase from there anymore. I did buy some stuff from them back in college when I was unaware of their business practices. Anyway, I am not a huge fan of these things, whatever these little hanging bits are. I think they make the top look too much like lingerie, and I've never reached for it because I'm too self-conscious about whatever these are. So I will be cutting them off like a toxic friend and sewing up the wound.
A few moments later.
Welcome to my kitchen. It's a little bit cluttered right now. I still have to do dishes, so sorry about that. But for the sake of the video and getting my projects done, I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I have my supplies. I have my pile of mauve colored clothing. 2 of them will become maroon/purple and the other 2 will become purple. One thing I have noticed when dyeing clothing is that a lot of the dye obviously absorbs into the clothes, and if you want to dye multiple items, you have to keep adding dye to the dye bath because the color will come out a little lighter every single time. These are also synthetic fabrics, so I'm not sure how well they will hold the dye. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna have to double check if I use this color stay before or after the dye bath, because last time I did it wrong. And I will also be using RIT dye, and this works with cotton, linen, rayon, silk, wool, and nylon, which I think most of those items are. I'm gonna double check the fabric tags. I also have a very large stainless steel pot that I use specifically for dyeing clothes because I'm not about to cook food in something that I put chemicals in. I bought this for probably $5 or $10 from Walmart, and it serves its purpose well. I do need to fill it with water. I just read the instructions on the dyes. You do want to use the color fixative directly after dyeing the fabric. The only top I'm not really sure will hold the dye well is this one because it is 100% polyester, but I'm gonna try and dye it anyway and see how it goes. The two Free People items are nylon and I think rayon, and then that lace heart top is a cotton polyester blend. So I think with that one, I might end up getting a really cool contrast between the embroidery from the lace and then the base, which is, I think, the polyester mesh fabric, if that makes sense. So I have high hopes for that one. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and fill a pot with water. Please excuse the sound in the background. The other thing that I will need is salt, and I totally forgot about this. Oh, and dish soap. Much like some of my projects, I am reading the instructions, but I'm not making measurements perfectly. The instructions are more like guidelines anyway.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
I think part of the smell comes from the dish soap also being in the liquid. Fabric will look darker when wet and prior to washing. No kidding. I'm very excited about this. I might have mentioned that earlier, but I haven't dyed clothes in a really long time. And I actually have a rather extensive list of clothing that I want to dye. And I've actually gotten to where I will consider buying clothes from the thrift store that I genuinely don't like the color so that I can have an excuse to dye them something else. Oh, look at that. 3.9. Oh, hello. 4 ounces, exactly.
Twenty minutes later.
These are done. I cooked them for 20 minutes, which is 10 minutes less than what the directions recommend, but because this one kimono thing is synthetic, I don't think it's going to take any more dye. Like, it just doesn't seem to be getting any darker. And the other one looks great. So I think I'm gonna remove them from the dye bath and move on to the next 2 items. Oh boy. Let's go. Bye-bye. And in she goes. I really hope this top holds the dye properly because it is, I think, 100% polyester, and synthetic fabric does not tend to hold dye quite as well as cotton or linen.
Later.
So one thing I have discovered during this process is even though the instructions say to leave the clothes in the dye bath for about 30 minutes, really, at least for these garments, it only took about 20 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna try to not make a huge mess. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's really in there. This one's heavier, kind of like the last time I did this. Now all I have to do is discard of the old dye and rinse off all of the items that I dyed. It says in the instructions to rinse them until the water comes clear, but I'd be rinsing them forever, honestly. I think I'll have to put them through a few washes just themselves to keep the dye from transferring to other clothes. So next up, I just need to discard of the old dye and rinse these items off. Once the rinsing is done, I need to create a new bath, which is the Color Stay Dye Fixative. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all 4 items in the same dye fixative bath because there's really no point in trying to do them separately. That would just be a waste of supplies and energy. I just made myself a cup of decaf coffee, although I really want caffeinated. It's a little too late in the day for that. I do still need to go to the gym, so once I'm finished with this, that is what I'm planning on doing. Dyeing clothes always takes a little longer than I expect. Sometimes I'm not very good at estimating the amount of time these things will take, but I had every intention of dyeing clothes and doing the clothing alterations today. I don't think that will be happening. I'm gonna put the sewing portion off until tomorrow because I just know it would be way too much for me to try and get done today. Despite the amount of time that this takes, it is a rather rewarding endeavor, especially if you do it right, and I believe that I did it correctly. So right now, the clothes are just cooking in the fixative, and they'll continue to do that for about 20 minutes. And then I will move them to the bucket. Once they're in the bucket, I'll let them cool off, and then I'm gonna run them through the wash to get rid of any residual dye. I can wash them all together. It's not gonna hurt anything. I just don't think I'll wash any of my other clothes with these items for a little while because the fixative does help the dye from running, but when you're working with colors this dark, you gotta be careful. I think I've earned a little bit of a break, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm hanging out in my art room. I have a cup of tea, and it is a beautiful rainy day outside. It's actually kind of chilly. I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt and shorts, and it's admittedly a little cold to be wearing that. Even though it is not fall yet, it sure feels like it. I did unpack my sewing machine today. I'm very glad to have gotten it out of the box because having it set up will motivate me a little bit more to use it. And I definitely have a lot of sewing projects on my to-do list. So today we're gonna start off with the simple ones that I mentioned. Let's get started. I have my warped cutting mat. I really need to get a new one, but this is what I am using for now. I am going to go ahead and cut my shirt. This does make me a little nervous, but man, those sleeves are really billowy. The other thing is the hem isn't quite even, so I'm not really sure how to go about this. I tried it on and I want a bit more of a cropped fit, so I am going to mark it just above the 3rd button because I do need to leave a little bit of room for hemming. Use a little bit of my chalk. And do the same on the other side, which honestly, I just need to find. Do keep in mind that I am not, in fact, a professional seamstress, and I'm kind of winging everything that I do. The one downside to this situation is the length of this shirt. It is very long, and now I'm trying to find a way to spread this out perfectly flat so that I can put a measuring tape across it. This is risky business because I gotta get it in one cut. I'm using my rotary cutter, which I love this thing. I got it last year and I never used a rotary cutter in sewing before, oddly enough. For as much sewing as I've done, I'm actually kind of surprised I never used one of these, but they are great. I got a little baby one. Tiny little baby rotary. Meh. Okay, now maybe you can see what's happening with the cutting. Here we go. Nervous. This is also like right here, this is a solid. Okay. Very carefully. Trying to not adjust. Oh, this makes me nervous. Ah! All right. Now I just gotta scooch this over a little. I am hemming it, so even if this is just a little bit off, which I can see that it is, I can make a couple of adjustments and it'll be just fine. And I'll probably keep the scrap fabric. I might be able to use it for something in the future, but that looks like a pretty good cut. So, woo, I almost kicked my coffee over. Also, there are belt loops on this because it was a mini dress and it did not come with a belt, but I'm just gonna go ahead with a seam ripper.
What follows is a brief construction montage. We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
All right, let's talk about the results of all of these little DIY endeavors, what went well and what didn't go well. So the first piece I want to discuss is this now cropped puff sleeve top. I like this top infinitely more now that I have altered it. It fits really well. I love the length. It is going to make a really good layering piece for fall and winter. What didn't go well? Well, the first thing that didn't go well was I couldn't get my sewing machine to work, but that's technical error on my part. I'm ashamed to say, but I kind of forgot how to get my sewing machine up and running because it's been maybe 8 or 9 months since I have sewn anything. That was my first issue. The second was that I kept stabbing myself with the needles while I was hemming this shirt. Granted, the hemming went really well because this is cotton fabric and it irons beautifully, so it was very easy to fold the edges and get a nice even hem. One of the things that did not quite go super well is that for whatever reason, even though I lined things up pretty well in my hemming, this did not line up. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of disconnect right there at the bottom. I might go back in and seam rip it and try and fix it, but honestly, it's not that big of an issue to me, especially since I may end up using this top predominantly as a layering piece. But yeah, overall, this project was pretty simple. If you are hesitant to try and hem some tops that you may own, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I am gonna have to find some stain remover because I did get some blood spots on the inside of this, and it's solid white, so I really, really hope they come out. Getting into this was not easy because this is a full-blown corset, but this is kind of what I'm thinking when I say layering piece. I don't know under what circumstances I would ever wear this, but I really like this combo with the puffed sleeves and just this super cute floral print. I might have tied this a little too tight though, because whew. Next up is this blue and white corset top, and during the process not a whole lot went wrong. It was pretty easy and simple. The fabric was very slippery and kind of hard to work with, but for the most part it was an easy fix, and I definitely like this piece a lot more without those little dangly bits. I'm definitely more likely to want to style this in the future. And it's kind of nice because I can use it as either a summer top or I can wear it in this capacity, which I actually think I like this more than if I was to wear it on its own. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I don't particularly love the way that this silky fabric feels against my skin. And you would think silky would probably be a good thing, but it's synthetic and it just makes me feel hot. On to the dyed pieces. This is the first one, and I'm so happy with the results. I actually, when I pulled it out of the dye bath, thought it was going to be kind of a plum color, but it is definitely more of a purple. And I absolutely love how the lace did not take the dye, so there's this contrast there. It no longer washes me out, and I think the piece is just a lot more fun in this color. In the future, I may consider dyeing it again to get it darker, but for now I'm going to style it this way and see how I feel about it. And I actually thought that I was gonna have to redo the buttons, but because the lace did not take the dye, it still matches perfectly. And I'm so happy that I'm not gonna have to do that because I really don't like sewing buttons. I am so pleased with the results of this piece as well. I really enjoy this color far more than the original piece. The mauve color just wasn't doing me any favors, but here we have contrast between my skin tone and just the garment. It doesn't wash me out. This pretty kind of purpley plum color looks really nice with all the embroidery. I was a little concerned that the embroidery would get ruined in the dyeing process, but it still looks great. I would also like to note that this is how I would style this piece for fall. Tunics are kind of tricky to style because they are an awkward length, so I've made it a point to have at least 1 or 2 coats or cardigans that are on the longer side. That way they work well with tunics and kind of match the same length so you don't have an awkward disconnect when wearing the pieces together. I would probably style this outfit with my Doc Martens or maybe a different pair of chunky black boots that I own. This is a lighter weight cardigan, so this would make a really good transitional outfit from summer to fall. And last but not least is this kimono. I mean, with all the pieces I dyed, I like them infinitely more now that they're a different color because they suit my style and my taste so much more. I am admittedly still struggling a little bit trying to figure out how to style this one. I like this look pretty well. I think I could make this work. I used wine red dye for this, and I expected it to be a little darker, but I'm not mad about this. It's closer to a raspberry color, and I don't think I'd be able to dye this again and get it darker because it just was not taking the dye the way that I expected to. But it's a mesh synthetic fabric, so I probably should not be that surprised. And I think it would look good for fall with boots, but I would have to plan to wear it on a day when I wouldn't need a jacket because this would just look so weird with something layered over top of it. I kind of like how this adds an element of flowiness to the outfit without requiring me to wear a dress. I can just wear the pants underneath, and this would probably look really cool with a pair of boots. I do own a pair of boots that might be a similar color to this, so that could work. I'm not 100% sure. But if you have any ideas for how I might be able to style this piece effectively, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And the final piece. The results of this were just as I suspected. When I threw this into the dye bath, I had high hopes, and I was not disappointed because the embroidery on this, I believe, is 100% cotton, so it took the dye really, really well, while the base fabric, which is some kind of polyester mesh, just did not absorb the dye. So I've got this really cool effect where you can see all the embroidery now. I love the amount of contrast in this piece. I've said this about pretty much every piece I've dyed, but I love this infinitely more than the way it used to be. And I'm definitely more likely to reach for this in the future because it's such a cute piece. This is actually what I like to call my Valentine's Day top because of the little heart motif in the embroidery. And I used to wear it mostly only for Valentine's Day, but I'm gonna have to break this bad boy out because it's cute. In conclusion, if you're on the fence about dyeing your clothes or altering them, I highly recommend just going for it because you might end up with some really cool results. Obviously, do your research before you throw things into a dye bath and practice sewing on things that you're not so worried about damaging if sewing is not your forte. But I highly recommend altering your clothes, upcycling your clothes, and reincorporating items into your wardrobe that maybe you didn't like before because of the fit or the color or just some detail that could easily be fixed or altered. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see others like it, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell button so you can be notified the next time I upload a video. Well, until the next one, I am out. Bye!
Oh, you pull me back, gravity into your light again, and I'm losing track. Every moment fades in the wind. No, I've never been so high. The way you look into my eyes, you know it. I adore you. Supernova, when your love is shining, it's a supernova.